In America, we do not seek to impose our way of life on anyone, but rather to let it shine as an example for everyone to watch.
That was a very small part of a major speech by our president to the United Nations, which was really forceful and direct. Come on in, please. Fox News contributor Nigel Farage. Nigel, I know you watched that speech. I wanted you to tell us, how would the Europeans react to that speech? How would the Brits react to that speech? Tell us.
Well, let's be clear, that was vintage Trump. It was all the themes that got him elected as US president. In fact, it was so good, it should be bottled, in my opinion. But then again, of course, I'm a supporter. Now, how would the people in the building behind me, and more particularly in Brussels in the European Union, have reacted to that speech? They will be absolutely horrified that Trump dared to speak. Well, because he dared to speak about the nation state being the building block for humanity. He dared to speak about the concept of culture within a nation and the need to protect it. He even committed the heresy at the United Nations of saying that mass migration was bad for both the receiver and for the donor country. So on all of those levels, you know, the EU crowd, the Blairites in London, the Clintonites in America would all be horrified.
Yeah,
but I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, but Nigel, you're referring to the elites and how they would react to this speech. Look, Britain is still in a terror mindset. It barely recovered from that terror attack in London. And here's President Trump saying, we're going to root out those who finance terror. We're going to crush the loser terrorists. I would have thought that ordinary people in Britain would very much support that kind of thing.
Oh, I think you're on the money with that comment. I think, once again, this shows the gulf between the sort of PC political set that we have in Britain and Europe and ordinary people. And do you know what? You know, as you say, we've had repeated terrorist attacks. One that happened here in London last week that mercifully wasn't as bad as it might have been. And I think ordinary people hearing a global leader standing up at the UN and saying, we will do all we can to confront terrorism and to threats to our culture and our way of life. I have a feeling that this president, who's had a very bad press here in the United Kingdom, I have a feeling his approval ratings in this country will have gone up significantly once they've heard this speech.
Stay with us, please, Nigel. I just want to digress to Peter Kernan, who's also with us here. This theme of the elites, especially in Europe and also in the United States, won't like what our president just said because it was very, very direct. Ordinary people might really turn on to it. What say you?
Well, I think what he did very effectively, the president, that is he explained how America First as a concept can be woven into the mission of the United Nations, which is to say, if there are 193 member nations, that instead of the G1 or G20, it's G-me first. And that if you become the very best nation state you can be, with a few shared views and values that are worldwide, that's the best way for the nations of the world collectively to prosper. I think there are a lot of people who are going to be positively impressed by that. And frankly, it wasn't as, I would say, ham-handed as people expected him to be. I thought it was a very nuanced and thoughtful and powerful and direct presentation.
Nigel, I'm just reading here the headline from the Washington Post that they've just come out with. It says, Trump threatens to destroy North Korea, calls Kim Rocket Man. And then you've got the New York Times, which leads with Trump in UN speech threatens to totally destroy North Korea. So that's what the elites over here are picking on. I'm pretty sure it's going to be exactly the same thing in Europe. It's going to be judged as inflammatory. I think that's what they're going to say over there.
Yeah, I mean, Rocket Man, he's been criticised for saying Rocket Man, and people are kind of doing rehashes of the Elton John song Rocket Man already. Yeah, I mean, people will focus on, you know, Rocket Man's on a suicide mission because they're not used to people speaking in such diplomatic language. Look, what he was saying was North Korea, threatens the Western world's values, we will not stand idly by and allow them to destroy us. And whether it's the defeat of ISIS or whether it's making sure that Mad Kim does not get weapons to threaten us all, I think what this president has done is to show everybody that actually Make America Great Again is not just something for the USA, it's a concept we can all embrace.
Nigel Farage, always a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. We do appreciate it. Thank you.